So team, we are Michelle Laurie and I'm Jo Hancock, and we are the hosts of your Everyone Active
I looked
podcast.
surprised then, didn't I? I wasn't quite sure who I was, but it's because we're in different surroundings.
I know, we're podcast on the road.
Snap.
And today,
Very exciting.
yeah, we have got special guest. I would say flown all the way from Australia, but
No.
actually he's run all the way from Australia, halfway around the world.
Just to be here.
Yeah. Can we introduce ultra runner, extreme athlete, adventurer, Australia's Forrest Gump, Tim Franklin?
Whoop, whoop, whoop.
It's good to be here, ladies. Thanks for having me.
What an introduction.
That is, yeah. Extreme adventurer.
Wow.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
So Tim has joined us today because we're lucky that actually you're smack halfway running the world.
I mean, yeah, that's incredible.
Halfway running the world. So we're just going to quiz you a little bit today. First one being, how, why, what made you go, we're going to do the world?
Got nothing on today. What shall I do? Let's start running the world. There's not much on TV.
I think, yeah, well, that's true.
Yeah.
I think the two questions I get asked the most is why and how many pairs of shoes will you need for it? And the why is two or threefold. I think, firstly, I want to go on an adventure. I wanted to have a break from life and go and see the world, and I want to see it slowly, you know, in my time, doing it the way I wanted to do it. Secondly, I've been really lucky to be in the fitness space for about 15 years of my life now. I neglected my health and well-being for the best part of 20, 25 years. And just the benefit of movement and fitness and health and wellness is just, you know, immeasurable. And I just wanted to get that message across, like how important movement is, and get the world moving. And what better way to get the world moving than literally run around it? And then thirdly, I've got some charities that I'm really closely aligned with that, you know, in me doing this, that I could potentially raise even, you know, not just funds for, but awareness of. So they're probably the three whys.
So when did you start? When was the first day you stepped out in your trainers and started running for this particular?
So the first day of this exercise was the 3rd of December, Saturday the 3rd of December last year, so 22. Yeah, so 272 days ago.
Wow. And we've said that you are halfway round, but if you just want to tell our listeners what halfway actually equates to. So countries, kilometres, days.
Yeah, so there's a World Runners Association, which has just been set up by people that have done it. And they've just put, I would think, arbitrary guidelines in place.
How many? How many are in this club?
So I will be the 7th to join it. So,
Wow.
So there is, 6 that come before me, 4 men, 2 women.
Wow.
And none other than myself are on the go at the moment, is my
Have you got a
understanding.
WhatsApp group?
We don't have a WhatsApp group. I don't think
Hi,
they'll-
world runner.
Yeah.
How are you
What would
doing
you call
today?
the group as well? What would be the icon as well? You need
Well,
to
that's
sort
true.
that.
Well, I'm advocating for like jackets, like they do if you win
Okay.
the Masters
Yeah,
golf.
yeah.
Green jacket.
Yeah, like a green jacket or
Nice.
something. But they've actually been lovely. So the reason that I knew running around the world was a thing is I did a race when I first got into sort of ultra running in 2017, and I met a gentleman by the name of Tom Dennis, who was an Aussie, and he was the first Aussie and the only other Aussie that's done it.
Wow.
So I met him on a random story. I was sitting on a plane next to a guy reading a book written by Tom Dennis, and I'm like, I know that name rings a bell. I think he's doing this race, and he was sitting behind us on the plane. So that's how it
Wow.
all started. Like I didn't know it was a thing until this guy was reading this book about Tom running around the world.
What race was that you were going to go and do?
It was called the Big Red Run. So it was a 6-day ultra marathon across the Simpson Desert.
Okay, so for people that don't know, what is an ultra marathon? How does that differentiate between a regular marathon?
So very simply, a marathon is 26.2 miles
Yep.
or 42.2 kilometres, and an ultra marathon is anything registered above that distance. So it literally could be 45
Wow.
or on. And the ones that I like to do are multi-day. So you've got to carry sort of everything that you need for the week, and you're just provided with somewhere to sleep and water, and you've got to carry everything else.
That's where we met.
So I was going to say, how do you
That's
two
where
know
we
each
met.
other?
But I wasn't doing the running
Oh.
side.
Were you holding?
I was doing the,
Doing the
you
tag?
got this side.
Okay.
Like the supporting side.
Yeah, so
out
that-
in the G2G.
Yeah, Grand to
Grand
Grand.
Canyon.
Yeah, so the Grand Canyon.
So I was out there crewing. So I'm on a fixed point, making sure these amazing athletes
Wow.
come home, supporting two of my close friends that you are also friends with now.
Yeah.
One of them has actually been out with you on a stint for
Yeah,
this little
ran
run.
with me yesterday. And that's one thing I love about not only this sort of racing, but any sort of fitness is the relationships
Yeah,
that you form
yeah.
along the way. And you might only spend an hour with them or 3 hours with them across a week in a race, but it's a really intense 3-hour experience, and you just become really close really quickly.
It is a special world
Yeah.
and the atmosphere that you guys like, just seeing how an ultra runner, especially stage to stage. So that means, go into that a bit more, that you're carrying your food for the 5 days or the duration of the race.
Yep.
You've got your sleeping bag in your backpack.
Oh, wow.
You've got your
All your
emergency
clothes,
kit.
emergency kit.
So how heavy would sort of like the rucksack be that you're...
About 10 kilograms. It would start out.
This
Wow.
is because you know that weight will affect your running. So when we're talking about toothbrushes, the end of the toothbrush is snapped off, so there's just the bristles to take weight out the backpack.
Really?
Yeah, like
it's that sort of concentrated, is it? Wow, that's amazing.
Well, yes, but yeah, I mean, again, people are there for different reasons. People are there because they just want to challenge themselves and go somewhere that they haven't gone before. And there are other people racing it, and they're the ones that will be like, no, I've got to cut weight. Like, I'm somewhere in between there. So I won't take a change of clothes. I'll just have the same
Yummy.
clothes. Yeah, it's not particularly glamorous.
You've changed today, though, haven't you, to be here?
you not-
Do I have to answer that question?
Thanks for changing.
I even showered.
We digress. So we were on the plane and we had
Yes.
seen the book.
Oh,
of
yes.
The
So,
ultra runner.
so I was like, and then I just got talking to Tommy over the week about what is it, what it looked like, how to go, and it was less rules back when he did it, but so since then the rules specify that I have to run a minimum of 26,232 kilometres. I have to pass every line of longitude in one direction. I have to run on a minimum of 4 continents, and for a continent to count, I have to run a minimum of 3,000 kilometres on that continent, and from within 1 kilometre of the ocean on one side and finish within 1 kilometre of the
Wow.
ocean on the other side, or at least hit that point throughout the run across the continent. I think, yeah, and past points of antipodian points. So like the opposite point on a globe. And I think there's, and it has to be one continuous run on the continent. So where I finish that day, I have to go back and start the next day from that very point. It's got to be continuous.
And is there somebody that checks you've met all of those criteria then as you go along, or how do you record that?
I guess it's at the end of the day, it's an honesty system.
We could do it then, Joe.
Honesty being the. So you got it. So I keep all the track. I've got a tracker on me as well as Strava and GPS watch. I carry an Apple Watch with me as well, which is just tracking everywhere I go. And then I have a spreadsheet where I put the longitude and latitude on a spreadsheet every day, and then I put further details just to provide more evidence that so my heart rate for the day, the distance covered, elevation gain, how many calories I burnt. So the more information I can provide, the less questions
Yeah, of course.
I'll get.
So this is a little side note to the power of Instagram.
Yes.
Power of social media, because sometimes, and we've spoken about this in previous podcasts, in that it's all very, social media can be such a bonus, but the opposite end of the spectrum, it can also be a little bit not true at times. So I guess by the fact that you're providing your heart rate, your distances, your trackers, your everything, they're actually the human physical facts behind, rather than just taking a picture saying, I'm here.
Yeah, here I am today. Yeah. And but I guess that's just with anything in life. If you're really only cheating yourself.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
This is an arbitrary thing that I'm doing that a few other people have done. Like what would be the point of me saying I've done it? I've got to live with myself.
Yeah.
So I mean, and some people might be able to do that. I just don't think I am one of them. And it's, although, you know, there's probably not just a little bit of ego in it. I'm really just doing it for me. Like I just want to go and have an adventure, catch up with people. Like this week in London has been.
Has it?
Oh, it's been. Yesterday was one of the best days of running I've ever had in my life. But there's also been a lot of awful times.
Has there?
Like throughout the run as well. Just really times where I've like, why? You know, I really questioned my why. And I think, and I don't know if we can talk about it a bit later, but if your why, like the why and the purpose has to be really strong, because otherwise I'd be at home. I think I would have given up, but I want to prove to myself that I can do it, and not to hell with everyone else. But this is like, at the end of the day, I think if you're trying to do something and achieve something beyond the ordinary, that if you're not doing it for you, you're really going to struggle to complete it to a level that you're comfortable with. But yeah, so that's, and it all started back on the plane now, just pretty much 6 years ago.
Wow.
Reading that book. I'm just going to tap into your why. So we've spoken about this when we talk about people joining their first group exercise, going out for a walk, setting themselves that, do you know what? I actually want to look after myself. I want to prolong potentially my life expectancy. And I want to just enjoy being me and living in the body that I want to live in. And we always say in gym workouts or a program is find your why and how personal it has to be to you. So I know that you are also a coach.
Yes.
Triathlon coach?
Triathlon and running coach. Yep. Yeah.
So how do you go about that mindset with your clients? Like, how do you program people to find their why? And then we'll chat about yours.
That's a really good question. I think, like, there's my why, and you know, and my background. Like I said right at the start, for the first 20 to 25 years, I was a healthy, active kid. Had a few injuries, growing pains through my mid to late teenage years, and sort of fell off the wagon of any sort of health and fitness. Disrespected my body. Was really, I'm outgoing, positive guy on the surface pretty well all the time, but wasn't particularly happy. Had put on a lot of weight, and then I said, I just want to start moving again. So I did that, and it was probably for vanity, to be honest. Like that was I just wanted to, you know, I was at a certain age. I didn't really have a lot of like girlfriends or interest in like from girls. So I was like, oh, what's going on? So that's probably why I started, and also my parents have done an extraordinary amount for me, and the opportunities I've had, I've just lived an extremely lucky life. And I was working as a lawyer at the time, and I came across this book. Oh, sorry, not a book, an article in a paper, and it was the mum's daughter had died in a car crash from a drunk driver coming the other way. And the quote was, the hardest thing a parent has to do is bury their own child. And just what I was doing with my life is, after everything my parents had done for me, I felt like that was going to be them putting me in the ground, other than the other way around. So that was sort of the catalyst. And then when I'm coaching people, I just want them to enjoy it. I want, like, that's the why. Like, life's, no matter where in the world you are, there's relativity to how hard life can be for you. So don't add another stressor to it. Exercise and movement should be the de-stressor, make life easier. So I just want people, the why should be fun. Fun to make myself feel better, surround myself with really sort of positive, supportive people. And that's got to be your why. The moment it starts to become a chore, take a break, do something else. So that's probably where I focus them. And then a key driver for me is get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Like life,
Nice quote.
like it's like a growth mindset. Like nothing, you're not going to grow if you're just sit comfortable. Nothing great happens in a state of comfortability. I'm not sure if comfortability is a word.
Let's
but
make it a word.
We'll put it in.
Yeah, it is now. Yeah.
But so there's that, and that's what I sort of preach is like get outside your comfort zone, grow, find where your barrier is. Depending on whatever it is, like obviously I'm in the fitness and health industry as you guys are, but that could be anything. It could be learning an instrument, learning how to sing, paint, do some study, just put yourself out there, because if you don't, you're not learning, right? And a lot more learning, I think, comes from not so much failure, but being vulnerable to failure.
Yeah.
So what's your why? I'm doing it, I'm there, this is my why. Can you pinpoint the why? Or is it the whole of that kind of positivity personification of just keep pushing?
That is probably the closest definition I think I can get to it. Like I honestly want to do it to say that I've done it, but I want to do it to get other people moving. Like I'm lucky enough to coach, so I coach adults as well. Even more lucky to coach young women is where I spend a lot of time coaching.
Do you want to do a shout out to them?
Oh, shout out to Brisbane Girls Grammar School.
Whoop, whoop.
And also Tri-Nation Triathlon Training, #1 tri squad in Australia, obviously.
Oops.
Global. Let's just go globally.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. But it's just to get, like, it's literally, like it saved, well, flippantly, it saved my life, but it probably did. And it's not just physically, like people that know me would say that I've, there's a level of body dysmorphia. Like I look in a mirror and I don't see necessarily what others see. I see like the flaws or whatever. I'm still not happy with my appearance, etc.
Really?
Stuff like, So there's that vulnerability. But I think if people don't have any vulnerability, well, I think you're probably not being honest with yourself. So I mean, my why is I just want to keep pushing as much as I can, but sustainably, which sounds probably ridiculous because I'm trying to run 50 to 60 kilometers a day for the best part of 2 years. But it really is like, I want people to start exercising as early as possible and be exercising when they're 70, 80, 85, 90, for as long as they can, because again, the benefits of in physical, mental and emotional health.
Yeah, 100%. We've had, haven't we, an Admiral nurse on.
Yes.
And we've spoken about dementia and Parkinson's and how if we are moving now in our younger years, ideally, but even if it's in our mid-years, the benefits and the health benefits that will come to help us later in life are, phenomenal. Absolutely. Like, just get that movement going.
And that's absolutely, and that probably frustrates me the most is, and this, I don't want to be controversial, but there's so much money is spent by us as taxpayers paying for health, but it always seems to be on the wrong end. Like we're always paying. Why aren't we focusing more on preventative, like getting people moving, helping people, afford memberships to not just gyms, but clubs of Pilates, yoga, walking clubs, anything. Make it more accessible, make it cheaper, make it a tax deduction, because the money that's saved on the back end, and then again, that might come down to big pharma being in charge, everything. And I don't mean I'm not really political, but it just frustrates me that there's so much money pumped in to the health system, but at the wrong end.
And I was reading an article only last week. It was an article on LinkedIn, and it was someone had written a whole thing saying GPs should be prescribing group exercise or some kind of exercise to their patients rather than just sitting and writing a prescription.
That has started to happen now.
I mean, I think it's not still massively rolled out though, is it? But again, it's always looking at the preventative, isn't it, rather than just putting a plaster on the problem.
Yeah, don't need the cure. However, walking costs nothing. Moving costs nothing.
yeah.
It is us and our own mindset.
Yeah.
And I know that you hate the word being called a bit of an inspiration, but you've just completely opened up to the fact that you were struggling with your own health, you were struggling with your own self-image, and you went, nah, no more. And now you're literally spreading that across the world.
Yeah.
And it's that movement. So do you remember ever tapping into that mindset? Like, what was that literal, do you know what? No, this is my bottom point. I'm not going down here anymore. What did you first do? Was it a gym? Was it a swim? Was it a...
Yeah, the first thing was I went for a run. So I was like, so when I say I moved at school, I played cricket, Go Australia, retain the Ashes.
Oh, I knew he was going to say that. I didn't get in there quick enough.
And
Yes.
both male and female Ashes, by the way.
Oh, twice.
And-
hold up. Lionesses and Matildas. Shall we go there?
Do you want to talk about that?
Come on, the girls.
I think the trophy's in Spain.
Oh, ouch.
Who is he?
Who asked him to go? Sorry. Oh, gosh.
Don't switch off, viewers. We'll pull it back. Go on.
Go England. That sounded gross coming out of my mouth.
Put that on repeat.
Yeah.
Meme.
Don't
Let's
chop
make a
that.
meme.
Don't
We're going to
chop-
make a
oh,
meme
no.
of it just of you.
There
You know
goes-
that little TikTok
there goes
clip
my
that's
brain.
sometimes a little
Yeah,
repeater?
yeah, that'll
Wow.
be it. Yeah,
Aussie saying go England.
You'll cut that up.
Come on.
What were we talking about?
We were talking about what was your lowest point.
Oh,
what was
yes.
your
said you
absolute
moved at
So
school,
my
you
very
were saying.
first, I
was
remember this.
cricket at school.
Vivid. I was played cricket at school, rugby at school, which Australia's terrible at. But we'll wait till after France.
That's the World Cup, by the way, coming up this year in France.
So as you could tell, I'm a bit of a sports nuffy. Like I love, I'd watch two cockroaches race up a wall if it was considered a sport. I love everything about it. So I did all that at school and I didn't move for quite some time. And I said, that's it. I'm going to go for a 10-kilometre run.
So straight off the bat, like
Yeah, well,
from
that was my
nothing
mindset.
to
Yeah,
go,
I was just like,
excellent.
I was like, I'm just going to go for a run. It's 10 kilometres. It's not that far. I see it on TV all the time.
Yeah.
And I went out and I ran all of 2.2 kilometres.
Excellent.
It took me 28 minutes, which is slower, I think, than a walking pace. And back home on like public telephones, you could reverse charge. So I
Yes.
had nothing on me, no money on me. So I actually I'd vomited on the run. And I reverse charged. I found a payphone, reverse charged Mum, and she came and picked me up and drove me home. And that was the first time I'd moved, like with any sort of.
I'm starting to get this mindset. 0 to 10K, marathon, ultra marathon, world.
Well,
Like,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
literally
Well,
there.
it's been a long, and that's another about sustainability. It's been a long journey. I didn't just go from 0 to 100, and I hate that, and I see that a lot in triathlon where there are people that are successful in their professional lives and potentially personal lives as well that just want to go from beginner to, I want to qualify for a world championship.
Yeah.
So straight away, and they train really hard and they might achieve a goal, but then I never see them again.
yeah.
Or they get injured or mentally burn out. And that is the worst thing I think
Yeah.
one can do. So I may lose athletes because of that, because that's not my philosophy. My philosophy is that lifetime goal. So that was mine. So I just started. 2.2 kilometres. It was the hardest, at that point in time in my life, it was the hardest thing I can remember doing.
100%.
Yeah.
Okay, how? And this is where people will go, do you know what?
That's it,
That
I'm
was
not going back.
too
Yeah, I'm
hard.
not doing it.
I hurt, I didn't get my goal.
And I was sick.
I was sick. This is not okay for me. But you carried on.
Yeah, so I fell in love with it. I fell in love with what I fell
Even
in
though
love with.
you struggled so much on that first run.
Well, that's what I fell in love with. I fell in love with that I wasn't good at it.
Oh.
That I wasn't just a talented. So back to school when I was running, I love it. I loved it. I love running. But I'm not very.
Helps with doing what you're doing.
That's true. My love has diminished over the last 271 days. A roller coaster ride, but even at school, I wasn't good. I was stone motherless. I was
What
back
was
of
your
pack.
sport at school?
Oh, cricket was probably the
Okay.
sport I was the best at. They would not associate me with any sport, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah. Just all round good bloke. I would have thought they would have
Legend.
said. Wow, that's a stretch. That's a stretch. But I wouldn't have been associated. I wasn't
Really?
athletic. I was, about 120 kilos. So I wasn't
Right, put that into perspective. What are you now?
about 75 to 80.
There we go.
So yeah, about 40 kilos I lost when I was really concerted effort to lose weight. And then that took a long time as well.
Yeah.
And it like stagnated. And that's hard as well on your fitness journey, is when you don't see constant improvement.
Yeah.
And you
It's that peaks and troughs,
Yeah.
peaks and troughs.
Yeah.
But it's the hardest part, and we try and really emphasize this, and you are the personification of it, is you will hit those lows,
Yeah.
and they will hurt, and they will not only your joints, your body, but your ego.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the bit, and that's where, do you know what? People can come over that. We've all had our different fitness journey, and you having to phone your mum because you've been sick, but you still got up the next day. What was that? Do you know what? I want a bit more. That failure.
It was the hurt, like the pain. It was actually, but it was enjoyable pain. It was like, whoa, that was tough. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to try and make it easier. And I don't think it ever gets easier. You just go faster, or you go longer.
You set yourself different goals.
You set yourself bigger goals. So you're always challenging yourself. You never get comfortable. Like I'd probably say, sometimes I've been content with like, oh yeah, I've done well there. I'll go and try something else.
How old were you when that happened? That run out?
23, 24. Yeah, I just started working full time. Just finished uni. Yeah, or just finishing uni, I think, is when I really cracked on. Yeah.
And so that's mindset change. Then did a routine start from it?
Yeah, not initially, but now my life is, well, probably before this run, my life was very...
So going back to before this race started, then you said you had a very regimented routine. What did that look like?
Well, yeah, I did, because I was coaching and still doing some legal work as well. So I just had to I was coaching every morning of the week, 2 sessions, mainly the squad, the tri squad with the adults, and then I'd go to the girls' school and coach there as well. Then I'd have to fit my own training in around those times. So I just knew that Monday mornings I was doing this. So Sunday nights I would prepare.
Yeah.
Tuesday mornings.
We've said about prep, haven't we?
Yes. So I mean, it's really boring, the prep, but if you do it, and I'm no means at the end of a journey where I am anywhere near the finished product or anywhere near perfect, and I flawed and make mistakes and am ill prepared as much as anyone, but I do understand the importance of it. Like, it just makes life so much easier when you are prepared. So I'd prepare, like, I knew what I was doing Monday morning, so Sunday night. I knew what I was doing Tuesday morning, Monday night. I'd lay everything out, and it would just be sitting in the corner, wake up, and just get going. And I guess the hardest thing for anyone is that, we were talking about earlier, is how did I start? Well, I committed to starting, and I think starting's the hardest point. It's the same on this run now. The hardest part of my day is getting out of bed, and then the second hardest part of my day is getting out of the car at the start point. But once I'm there, I've committed to starting and I'm away.
Yeah.
And I think that's just the same with anything. You've got to commit to start and then start. Tell people about it. Because you're far more accountable when others know what you're trying to do. And not only, that's not a negative thing, it's also a positive thing, because if they're the right people in your life, they will then be a positive support network that will pump you up and want to see you succeed. And if they're not that people and they are pulling you down, then you've got to get rid of them in your life. And that's the best thing that's happened with this run. Is I've told people about this run, and I'm so lucky to have literally the best support network, best friendship circle. I mean, I've won the lottery, right? And I said, guys, I'm going to do this run, and not one, maybe one, because he's a cardiologist and he's worried about my health, but everyone else was like, how can I help? What can I do to make you successful? And that, I mean,
isn't it? It's like
That's everything,
find
right?
your tribe.
Find
Yeah.
your tribe. Yeah.
And this is like on a worldwide level. And I mean, we've gone from you being 23 to now you are 40.
40.
And you've had 8 Iron
8 Ironman.
Men,
Yeah.
X amount of ultras, swims, coaching. So you have been the most vulnerable and you've seen people at their most vulnerable, but then you've also seen the power of the human spirit, the power of like minds, the power of actually I can do
do it,
this. And that network that you spoke about, well, you just said it, it's crucial to what you've been able to do. And we've spoken about that before in terms of like the centres. People have moved to new centres and they've joined gyms, and quite often a centre is now their why, it's their motivation, because
It's their
they've
little hub, isn't it? Yeah, they've found their people.
Yeah,
in a class that
absolutely.
they've never met before. And you've got that similarity, and that's how you then drive people. And like, I mean, you're now running around the world.
But it's that the people that walk in this, like in a gym, and everyone active, have nothing in common except for they are members of that gym.
Yeah.
But that's enough to be in common, right? And to become each other's support network and talk and use each other to grow. And when times aren't going well, talk to someone and stuff like that. And that's what my life has become. Like, that the people that I get to surround myself every day with are people that are wanting to achieve more than yesterday.
Yeah.
They're wanting to be better than yesterday. So that's another thing is it's cliche as anything, but don't chase perfection. Just chase improvement. And if you're just continually improving, you'll be better. Because you chase perfection, you'll wear yourself out mentally and physically really quickly. But if you just chase improvement, I just want to be a better Tim Franklin today than I was yesterday. And some days I'm not going to be. I'm going to be tired, cranky. I know, hard to believe. Short, terse, rude to someone that I should never be rude to. But as a general rule, try and be a little bit better than I was yesterday. And if everyone did that, the world probably would be slightly better than where we currently sit on a global position.
And that club of 7 might be a club of 100.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly right. And positive, they say that a magnet attracts like opposites, but if you're around someone that's negative, it's not a fun place to be. You don't want to be around them. But positivity attracts positivity. So, and that's what, and it's also that tall poppy syndrome, which is a huge thing in Australia that I hate. Like, that people get successful, then we cut them down. Is that if you're successful, I'm all for celebrating your own success, but even more so, celebrate other people's success.
Yeah.
Because then when you've achieved something, people are going to want to celebrate with you, because they like, Joe was there for me when I did this. Now Joe's achieved this. That's awesome. Let's get around her, or let's get around the group, or whoever it is. So it's all that sort of stuff that I fell in love with.
And it's that ripple effect.
Yes,
That
yes.
When we've dropped the stone, that little one pebble, and then the ripples that come off it, and how big those ripples can get. And those ripples then affect everybody around it.
Yeah. And I mean, halfway through the run to this point, unfortunately, my father passed away. He got diagnosed with a terminal illness early on, and then passed away.
So let's go into that. So you left Brizzy.
Yeah.
Have done South Island, North Island, New Zealand.
Yeah. I was about 2 months into.
So where were you in the world? America?
I was in the US. I was in Arizona or Oklahoma or Kansas or something like that. Kansas, I think.
Okay.
When I got a phone call.
And you get the call.
Yeah, so I got a call saying that Dad's cancer had come back and that it was terminal, and then it would be 6 months, roughly, is what he had. But don't worry about it. We're doing treatment. He could still be here for years. Is the story I was being told from mum and dad.
Always protecting you.
always protecting me. Yeah, they were always supportive. Every time I zigged when I should have zagged, they were there to help me, you know, no matter what I'd done wrong. And I was like, that's all right. I'll just keep going. He'll be around forever. Like, you know, parents are immortal, right?
Invincible,
Yeah. So I got that news, and I was injured at the time on my legs. I had some significant injuries in my legs. My body was still adapting to the run, so it was a really tough time. And then, so they said 6 months, but what they had failed to mention is that 6 months was actually only 3 months because they took 3 months to tell me. Because they didn't want to tell me.
They didn't want to stop you
they didn't
on this.
Yeah, and they didn't want to get in my mind. So I was like, righto. But I still didn't know that. So I'm like, I got down and I had a bit of a meltdown. And then it carried on, and I was calling home like nearly daily. And I never got, like, they wouldn't be straight with me. Like, they were like, no, it's going well. Treatment's going well. Yeah, it looks good. Cancer hasn't grown, hasn't spread, blah, 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 which was all bull dust, right? It was just not, that wasn't true. They were, again, just protecting me. Didn't want to be me to be in my own head thinking I should be home. And then I lost it at them. I was like, just start telling me the truth. And I was like, just tell me. And I'm old enough to make up my own decision what I want to do. And then they said, he's got 2 weeks left.
So you were
wow.
vulnerable, running in America, and have now told that superhero Pops.
Has got 2 weeks left to live. And the oncologist said, if Tim wants to come home, you should do it immediately. So by this stage, I'd fortuitously already made it across the country. So I had made it to the ocean on side. So I had ticked America off in terms of the run. But it meant that the world record was going to be put in significant jeopardy, having to go home and take time off. And I was like, oh, that's because we'd spoken about like what happens if something back home happens, illness, whatever, that I'll just keep going. I'm not a doctor. What can I do? But when reality set in, I was just like, wow. And then Dad had said, I really want to say goodbye, which was like brutal to hear, but made my decision. I probably wrestled with the decision maybe for 12, 24 hours. And then I just booked flights, got on a plane and went home. And as soon as the wheels of the plane hit the ground, I knew in Brisbane, I knew I'd made the right decision. I knew that's where I needed to be.
Yeah.
And so I landed, just went home. I was home for a week. I said goodbye. He said, get back and finish that damned run. It was like this direct quote. So the next day, so that was Thursday. I flew out Thursday morning. We put him into palliative care Thursday afternoon, and he passed away on the Friday.
Wow.
So I got to say goodbye, but I wasn't there for the funeral because I'd come back to the run, and I don't regret not being there for the funeral, but it was really hard to take, like watching it. And the reason I've even brought this up is because of that support network. Like, the church was just jam-packed with people, not just Dad's mates, but like my mates.
Your mates. Yeah.
And like the support that they were showing. And that just meant so much to me. And it was a character of Dad as well. Like, he was such a ripping bloke and did everything for everyone that people wanted to say goodbye. And then all the stories from him. So that it's that treat everyone in the room, you know, how you want to be treated, like, sort of thing. And Dad, he never saw class, race, creed, religion, never saw any of that. Just saw a person for their character, and that building people up to make them better is just, if there's one thing I could take from him, that's what I want. And sometimes I'm not good at it. Sometimes I see someone achieve something and I'm like, oh, that's crap. They didn't do it properly or something.
Yeah. Or
I'm not as nice to someone as I should be. And I get that. So that's where I'm learning. But yeah, so that's that positive support network, that I had people, you know, that might have met my mates that might not have even met Dad, but were there on behalf of me, knowing that I couldn't be there.
Yeah.
That's so lovely.
And the power that your dad has also left you with, like, that is one heck of a sentence to say to you. Go out and finish it.
Yeah.
It's just what love and admiration. He's just gone, do you know what? You're my boy. I know you can, and I'm going to tell you it's okay to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish it said it's okay to stay at home some days though. But no, it's been yeah. So that was tough, but it's funny. Like I just got back home. It took me a long time. So not only the days not running, but then trying to get back into
Getting
the
your
run.
mindset back into it.
Yeah, and physically, my body just shut down. Like I was on an aeroplane for 50 hours over a space of 7 days. So my body hated it. So getting back into the run was really challenging. Probably more physically than mentally. Mentally, there was nothing more I could do.
Yeah.
He had gone. I'd said goodbye. I mean, I wasn't there for mum, but my siblings were. So
Shout out to the brother and sister.
yeah, dear, they've done a wonderful job, right? And so I just got back to work. Eventually, it took a while. But since then, I have been really clear-minded. I mean, I think about him every now and then, but it's not. I'm not sad. He lived such a full life. And I went home, and I don't regret it. And I think had I not gone home, I think that would have been a far different story. I think I'd be grappling with it every day.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy I did, at the expense of an arbitrary record. But the journey means so much more than a record. It means it's everything to me now. Like just getting to the end and going, I don't care if it takes me 8 years to get to the end, and complete the task, the goal that I set out to do is everything.
And when do you foresee you will finish? What have you got an end date in mind, or?
I've got an end month in mind. Yeah, I'd love to be home in May, if not before. But it's a funny question. I was lucky enough to run with a few friends and acquaintances around like central London yesterday, and they're like, when do you get home? When do you get home? And I was like, well, when I've run 13,000 more kilometres. Like I don't just go, it's going to be in 270 days, because I could go sit on a beach for 270 days and I'm no closer to home. So it's dependent. The more I run, the quicker I get home. And that's the same with any goal, any task is you're never going to achieve it if you're not working at it. Yeah. So the end goal is I'll be home when I'm home. But I'm hoping that I'm halfway, and I don't want the second half to take longer than the first half.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
You've already beaten 2 records, I think, though, because you've run consistently.
Yeah, so my arbitrary records are I was only the second person ever to run across, second Aussie to run across America, but first Aussie to run across America coast to coast.
Just so casually.
Do you know what
I'm
I
sorry,
mean?
say that again. You're what?
Just the first ever Aussie, but it's just Aussie. There's only 26 million of us, right? So I ran across. But the one that
ran America, coast to coast.
Yeah. So I think and it is cool, and I will look back at it, I think, when I'm finished, with like a sense of pride. But there's less than 400 people, I think, that have ever done coast to coast that have run it. And then in South America, I was the fastest person ever to run across South America, covering the required minimum distance of 3,000 kilometres.
Let's drop that in.
And when he says run, so I've been privileged, and I am going to say privileged, to be able to support you on some of this run. So I've been helping you plan the route, meeting you at certain stations, refueling you, blah, blah, blah. And then once or twice I've started a little, like I'm fit. I cycle, I do the gym, I train, there. I'm sorry, you've run how many kilometres, and I can't actually keep up with your pace. Like, we are running.
Is he?
Oh my God. Yeah, you're brilliant. So don't underplay your run. It's full on.
Not like a light jog.
No,
I can't. I didn't underplay it. I was lucky enough to be interviewed by an Australian paper whilst I was in the US, and they posted it. And the headline was, Australian man jogs around the world.
Jogs?
I'm like, geez, that's a bit harsh. That's it. So I sent a message to the journo. I said, she's a bit rough. And she came back with, sorry, that was the editor. I had nothing to do with it.
Well, this editor does not
Yeah.
work it, but thank you for the article, but you
Yeah.
don't work in for this,
Yeah,
because
so-
this is not a job.
So I
This
thought-
is not a job.
I mean, she's probably accurate, to be fair. It is.
Outrageous.
I was like, what is this pace? I'm sorry.
it was,
oh my God. Yes.
Yeah, there's been some quicker days and some tremendously sort of days where haven't gone
So
as fast.
now we've got you in England. We're in the UK.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Started Portishead.
Portishead.
Literally
The most
coast?
westerly. Yeah, westerly. I started on the coast and then I ran to Bristol. Oh, yeah. And then I ran to Kemble, so the source of the Thames.
So source of the River Thames is Kemble, which is in the Cotswolds. So picked up the trail there. And as an outsider UK resident saying you're going to run the Thames Path, what was your thoughts on what that path might be?
I thought, I thought for a developed nation that the path would be gravelly early on,
Yeah.
and then maybe a little bit more paved.
Yeah,
I did not expect to be running through like
Ye
private,
old English.
private like cow paddocks with like cows literally in my way. Like there were times where I was like, it's me versus the cow here. And I'm like skirting around the border of the farm saying, please don't charge me, please don't charge me. And like goats and sheep on the path. I'm like, come on, fellas. Oh, yeah, so that's it was really interesting. But I mean, I loved it. Absolutely. Like it's not what I expected, but it's so much more. And like the path and running along like the river at the start where it's literally a trickle. Like you could walk across it and not get wet.
Wow.
And then all the way into London, where it's just this like a metropolis. This is the heart of the nation, really. Like in London Central is, yeah, awesome. And all the way along, like we've had people come out and run with me. That people that I've never met. The power of social media for all the negatives, the positive. Like people just follow me, like randoms. And like wouldn't know them. Just turned up and ran with me along the path for a little bit, and people I've known for years come drive an hour, take a day off work to come and run with me. And yeah, it's been an amazing journey along the Thames Path, but amazing journey.
So where do you go from
halfway.
here? So you've made it there. Where's your next stopping point?
Yeah, so I'm still a few days still in England. I'm still going to keep trying to move to the East Coast. And then
So on that note, let's give you the plug. Instagram handle.
our Instagram handle is at Timmy R. Franklin.
We'll pop it somewhere, flash it maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, or just search Tim Runs the World, and that hashtag should get you to me. And then I'll fly, and then I've got Europe. Europe's next.
Okay.
So Europe's my third continent.
So where do you fly into in Europe? Where are you
So
flying
I fly into Lisbon, in Portugal, and then I run to Istanbul in Turkey, or Turkey A.
And throughout this race, so you've spoken about the power of positivity, your mindset, but also the people that you are building around you. So those that you've met before, or those that are just coming into your life. So this is going out. Hi team, everyone active. And also there's going to be other people listening that might know people in, where are we going? Portugal,
Spain, France, Switzerland, Germany, Hungary, Austria, Serbia. Well, I don't know what's next. Bulgaria, Romania, and Turkey.
So
I think I might have missed
if
one or
you
two.
have friends, family, connections, anybody that might get in a car to help your crew,
Mm-hmm.
anybody that might go, do you know what? Stay overnight here, it's on the route.
Yeah.
Anybody that's done a walk, a hike, an ultra and marathon on mainland Europe, power of positivity, power of people, get in contact.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Just send me just a DM, as they call it. Slide into my DMs, and eventually I'll get back to you. I can be sometimes terrible at responding.
It's all right, you're running.
Yeah.
Literally.
But yeah, absolutely, it would be awesome. Every little bit helps, and the more people can give of time and resources means the more money that can go to my charity partners as well for the run. And anyone who wants to look into the charity partners, they can do that through, find the link in my Instagram, or timrunstheworld.com is the website, and that has all my charity information there.
And remember, each step gets this guy closer to being home. And that's the end goal.
Yeah.
Is we're going to get you home, and we're going to back you the whole way.
Yeah, I mean, it's downhill now, right? I've broken the back of it. I'm over 50%, which is, I've got a spreadsheet that as we put the numbers in, it just tallies, gives me a little dashboard of where I'm at. And for the first time, it's on 50%
Amazing.
finish. So to go is under 50%, which is, hopefully now the momentum continues to build, and even psychologically, I feel that I'm
I bet.
getting there.
100%.
Whereas there's a lot of times where I haven't felt like that at all.
So let's finish on a high. 3, I don't know how you're going to summarize X thousands of kilometers, but 3 top points, 3 highlights, either in your self-development or something that you've seen, like what's there?
And it can't be being here this morning.
Because clearly we're number 1.
So people
We'll take it.
Yeah.
That's a really good question, because I get asked. I've been asked that a lot. Obviously, like what's been the best part of the run or the best place you've run. So I'll do one geographically. There's 2 places. So I was lucky enough to run in South America. So I ran from Chile. I followed the coastline down, and then I ran across into Argentina. And in doing so, I ran over the Andes in Patagonia. It was just like snow, and it was phenomenal. It was one of the best things I've seen.
Wow.
It was amazing. Absolutely amazing. And I want to be on some sort of Patagonian tourism board as an ambassador to sell it, because
We can plug that for you here.
the people, everything was amazing. Everyone's friendly across all of South America. It was amazing. So that was number 1 place. And honestly, though, I'm not just saying that because I'm here, but the Thames Path has been so much more than I expected. I wasn't even really coming to England on the run, but because I'd lost time having to go home for Dad, I added it, and I'm so glad I did add it, because also the people. So number 1, Patagonia. Number 1, the Thames Path, and then for a completely other reason is the people that I've met on the run. So the houses that people opened up to me in New Zealand, the houses of like complete strangers in the US, and then yesterday's running around central London with like acquaintances, people that I've never met before, and then mates that I've had for years was honestly spectacular. Like that power of people was is the absolute highlight. And the one learning I've got from it is I want to be more giving of my resources when I get home. So open my doors up. My home has always been like a sanctuary. I'm very outgoing when I'm out, but as soon as I get home, I'm like, no, shut the door. Phone rings, I don't want to answer it. And I want to change that, because what it's done and how it's made me feel going into other people's houses, I want to give that to other people.
Yeah.
I guess are the 3 things.
The time. And the place.
Oh.
And the rest of the world. So gorgeous. Thank you so much for coming in and spending the morning. I mean, you could have had 40 Ks in the bag.
You could have had.
Or 60, knowing the pace that you ran. But
10.
honestly, thank you. Oh, here we go. I'm surprised the Ashes hasn't been brought up. Oh, I've just done it, haven't I?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we did remember how
Oh, yeah,
we've
I've
retained
forgotten
it.
it. Oh,
Blank
dearie
it
me.
out.
Oh, gosh.
We could.
But, so people listening, mainland Europe next stop, Malaysia, until we get back to Brizzy.
Well, we got to go
Across Australia.
Yeah, across Australia.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, so from Perth, following all the capital cities, so Perth, Adelaide, Melbourne, Sydney, and then Brisbane to finish.
Which is just incredible. Like, I've learned from just sitting here, listening to you, like, depths, goals, power of positivity.
So inspiring, honestly.
The whole way that you changed your life, but yet you are literally creating that ripple around you. So thank you
thank you.
for your time and just generally for being you.
No, thank you. Thank you very much for having me. It's been awesome. Real awesome to talk. And now I suppose I should get running.
Yeah, go on.
Off you go.
See ya. Oh dear. But to round up, team, I hope you've really enjoyed listening, watching, because I mean, what a guy.
Exactly, legend.
What a guy. And we will be in contact. So
Yes.
if anybody does have accommodation, time, transport, questions, even of how somebody gets into their first triathlon or sets up their first run, like email them into us.
Yeah.
podcast@everyoneactive.com.
Yeah.
Use our Instagram. Like, we can communicate with Tim, and in between those giant runs, like, just do a little, this is where you can start. And if you don't already, I really think that this episode definitely deserves a 5 out of 5.
I think it does, definitely.
Like a rating.
Yeah.
So wherever you listen to
And
your
a
podcast,
subscription. If they're not subscribing, this definitely deserves
100%. Thanks, team. But thank you so much,
Thank
Tim.
you.
Take care, guys.
We'll see you next time.